Sloucher. Gotta show your chest a little bit. Doing push-ups. We're recording, man. You gonna intro us today?
Yeah.
Alright, let's do it.
Alright, today we're back with a little stalking for the number 75 Run to Gun, Live Beyond Average podcast.
Yeah. You even knew what episode we were on.
Hey.
How do you know I didn't film one last night late?
Wild guess.
Yeah, you were right. 75. Yeah, man. Another beautiful day here in South Dakota. We are almost to the last day of July. 32 days away from archery season here for deer.
Getting
Pretty
close.
stoked, dude. Pretty stoked. So, yeah, let's talk about that kind of stuff. You have a whole slew of things that you gathered while you were painting. So.
I got this podcast idea list that I keep and just different things to talk about.
I love it.
Today we're just going to go on the topic of stalking. We both do a lot of spot and stock, and that's kind of where this one's going to round out.
Yeah.
First thing, what's your differences when you stalk with a gun versus a bow?
Dude, that's actually a really good question. I've thought about that to myself, but never really talked about it. And I actually hunt almost the exact same way during the archery season as I do the rifle season. Mm-hmm. I really, over the last 5 years, have just adjusted that style from, sitting in a tree stand to I really love the spot and stock game. I love being active, being out there, putting on that stock, that challenge. And so for me, my style really starts with sitting up on different areas, different points, getting up, breaking out the glass. And I've talked a little bit about this in some of our films where I talk about how a lot of guys have always preached the whole get out there and get as many stocks in as you can. Mm-hmm. And I kind of take the opposite route because it works for me, both gun and bow. Especially, this definitely applies to archery. I sit back, I watch, I see where the deer that I want to go after is, what he's doing, where he's going, and I try to watch him bed somewhere. And then this is where it actually starts. So a lot of guys, right when they bed, are going for it.
Yes. And
this is where I actually make my decision on, no, I'm not going for it, or yes, I am going to go for it, because so many times in a lot of the areas I hunt, if I blow that deer out, it might take him a week or so to get back in there, or I don't see him again.
Or they're on somebody else's property.
They're on somebody else's property, exactly. So unless they're in a spot that I'm viewing from a mile away or whatever it is, and I'm like, yes, they are in a killable spot, then I'm going for it. Mm-hmm. But if I have any doubt where I'm like, it's going to be rough to get in there, wind's wrong, a lot of eyes, whatever it is, I just can't sneak in there, I just wait the next day, and I'm going to see the same deer the next day because they kind of hang around that same area early season. I just have to wait for them to be in that killable spot. And so I'm viewing from a distance. I'm making my plan from a distance on how I'm going to get there. Obviously, you're going to have micro changes as you're going, but I'm making my macro plan on how I'm going to get there. And then just really being patient as I'm getting in. And I do the same thing with my rifle. I sit back, I view, I watch, and I hope to see that buck that I want go into an area where I can get in and shoot it, mm-hmm. Or just hope he comes within shooting distance. So, How about you?
I almost identical.
Yeah, and we've hunted together.
Yeah,
so.
I kind of pride myself on being able to stalk in on an animal, kind of being that ultimate predator, mm-hmm. and being at the top of the food chain. You got to be able to get in there close enough to harvest the critter, whatever you're going after.
Yeah.
So I really take that archery approach where you want to get in close, but at the same time, hold on, there's a duck in my pocket.
We're duck hunting now. Funny.
Cut that part out.
Edit.
Yep.
I'm not editing it. I'm going to leave it.
Yeah. No, when I get in close, I want to be able to make that stock. But in my earlier years, I would push it too fast. Yeah. And I'd be like, okay, I got to get the same thing. Got to get as many stocks in as I can because I have X amount of days, and I didn't come all the way mm-hmm. for nothing to sit and take pictures of deer.
Right.
So that got me into some trouble. So I really revised that and same thing we had talked about in one of the earlier podcasts was making sure the time is right.
Yeah.
And then the same goes for rifle or gun hunting. You know, yes, rifles are getting better. We're getting longer range equipment. You know, guys are able to reach out there. The problem is I think a lot of those guys that are able to, you know, just drive packs at 600-800 yards, that's not feasible when you're out deer hunting and throwing bullets at a deer and potentially wounding an animal, a nice one, or any animal for that reason.
Yeah.
So I like to get in fairly close. You know, I like to get into that, what I call like a gimme range. You know, anything under 200 where you're zeroed at.
Yeah, dude.
If you can get into that range with a rifle, I think that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Is to get anything into there. Not that I haven't practiced for longer.
Of course.
But the conditions have to be almost absolutely perfect for me to take that shot and feel ethical about it.
Right. Yeah, dude, I agree. I have a really nice TS custom rifle that Travis made for me, and I practice 800-yard shots in the summer, and I'm pretty dang good, decent at it. I'm probably better than decent. I'm probably pretty good at it, and I still and I've taken a couple deer. I took a whitetail a couple seasons ago with my brother at like 550. I took one of my mule deer last year at 5. Perfect conditions, no wind, and I mean smacked him. But my really big mule deer last year that I shot, the Wizard, like I could have shot him at like 770.
Right.
And like it didn't even literally, it was weird. It literally didn't even cross my mind to shoot him.
Yeah.
Like it was just one of those, like he was a deer that I'm like, nope, not shooting him right here. Like literally risk not killing him to get closer. And I mean, I have a really nice long range gun. I practice with it, totally capable, and I got within 40 yards and shot him.
Right.
But it was like one of those things, like I did exactly what you said. It's like I wanted to be gimme distance. Didn't know I was going to get 40 yards.
Right.
But like...
Not archery distance.
Yeah, but I wanted it to be like a gimme. I am for sure hiking out of here with this deer on my pack.
Right.
You know, it was just one of those things. So it's like, I love having that option and the ability, if I have no other option to close the distance or to get a nice 500-yard shot or 600-yard shot. But man, I've taken way more deer at closer range because I just chose to, hey, I'm going to cut some distance off of this. I can get down to this next little ridge. I should have a nice little clear shot and make it easier on myself, less stressful, less variables to deal with, and it usually pans out and works out to do that.
Yeah, I did the same thing in 2017. I could not buy a shot under 60 yards with my bow, and I literally, that morning, opening morning, I was sitting there looking at what my holdover and how many clicks I was going to have for my yardages, and I'm like, before the sun comes up, I'm looking at that stuff. And then I had a lot of other hunting pressure, so I moved farther in, and I ended up, you know, just bumping up on this buck, and I shot him at 29 yards
with your long range gun.
My long range gun. So you know, there's that too. Yeah.
I love it. That's the best.
What about like when you're closing that last little gap? Are you, you know, are you taking your shoes off and going in socks? Are you, you know, or are you just waiting for that opportunity?
So I've actually never taken boots off. I've always left them on. In a very high cactus, high rattlesnake area where I hunt. So I've never done that mule deer hunting. But one thing I've really focused on the last 2 years, and it has led to success with my bow on mule deer, has been slowing down. Like I just tell myself to be patient, to slow down. I've blown so many stocks in the past, or rushed a shot and missed an easy gimme shot on. I mean, my nicest mule deer that I shot, I missed 2 seasons in a row prior to that same deer because I'd rushed shots. I got in on him, but I rushed shots. And like finally that 3rd season, I got in on him to like 48 yards, and he was bedded. And so we got in on him, and I just like the whole way in, I was like, dude, this is your 3rd year on the same deer. Like you're really lucky right now. Like slow down. So I was like using those past lessons, and I was just like, just slow down, take your time. Like you got him bedded. You took the time to watch him. Like take all day. And I literally just was convinced that I was gonna take all day to kill this deer. And so like I got into 48, and I caught his horns bedded, and then I like had to make a decision. So I was like, okay, do I, you know, like we always hear like you throw a rock over whatever it is, and I was just like, I was so sold on the fact of being patient that I'm like, I'm just going to lay here and wait for him to stand, wait for him to stretch, move, whatever it is. And it took like an hour and a half, but he finally, like, I don't know if like a little bit of wind swirled, because I remember like looking, and then like every 60 seconds I'd kind of just like creep up with my bino. And I remember him like horns turned, looked up, so I think he caught a whiff. Right. And he did, but not enough where he like busted, just like stood up, drew, shot him.
Yep.
And it was like, so that was like this key learning thing that finally actually, like, you hear stuff, but it doesn't always mean anything to you. Yeah. And so it was finally like one of those moments where like patience actually meant something to me.
Yep.
And so for me, as I'm closing that gap, making my long story shorter, or maybe I just draw it up. But I always have a story for like why I learned a lesson, but like it finally made sense, you know. And then last year, same thing. I just applied that, and just when I'm getting in, you start getting excited, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you're pumped, but like it's easy just to like move too fast, make too much noise, not actually settle your pin in and pick the spot on the deer versus just shooting at the deer.
Yep.
You know, and like all those things rush because it is exciting, it is exhilarating, like your adrenaline is flowing, and it's a very fast moment. Slow it all down.
Right.
Like slow that moment down, and that success, I think, big time will follow.
Yep. I agree. I've never taken my boots off either.
Yeah.
Typically where I hunt, it's more like prairie.
Okay.
And they're same thing, you know, there's lots of cactus out there, and I've sat and picked cactus out of my knees just from stalking in, and I do not want them in my feet. That would ruin a hunt if they were in your feet.
Yeah.
And for the most part, the wind's usually blowing. It's South Dakota. Usually we have wind, and we can, you can kind of play the wind to get in there.
Yeah.
And like you said, moving, I call it moving with purpose versus getting sloppy.
I like that, yeah.
I move with purpose to get to where I want to get within like 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, then it's just slow, methodical.
It's like micro slow.
Yes. And I've learned my lesson many a times on, holy cow, this is a good deer. I got to get up there and shoot it.
Yeah.
Well, he's not going anywhere. He's sleeping.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
So
he's hanging out in the shade until that sun gets overhead a little bit more, until they adjust their shade spot.
Yeah.
So take your time.
Yep. So then when I get in there, I slow everything down, because usually, you know, you start getting worked up, you start getting that kind of buck fevery, getting excited. So once I get into that final stock, I cut, you know, in that end, I really slow it down, get control of your breathing.
That final phase.
Yes. And then once I get up there, I've been kind of the antsy, okay, I want him to stand up, I'm moving around. And for the most part, just letting them stand up on their own, as hard as that is.
Always the best route.
Yes. I throw in a rock. I tried that one time, and I watched a deer run for 2 miles, I swear. Yeah. And I'm like...
And I'm not saying it won't work.
Yeah.
It might work, and I'm sure it's definitely worked for guys. We've seen it.
Yeah.
But, man, like, if that deer can stand naturally without any...
And not be alerted.
And they're just standing for their stretch or to just move. Mm-hmm. Now you have time. You have time to anchor and aim and take a breath versus, like, pull up and fire. Like, gotta get the shot off. Like, now you can range that deer again, double range if you needed to. You can...
And similar with the grunting at it. Yeah. We all sound different when we grunt at deer. Mm-hmm. And deer sound different, too. You know, if you're hunting a whitetail, their grunt sounds different than what a mule deer does. So they're like, you know, they might be alerted. And they're like, what the heck is that? I've never heard that before. You know, and they'll stand up, but they're going to be more apt to duck your arrow.
Well, because
they're alerted.
And what if it's an older, wise buck and he's been snuck up on before, and a guy did this? I mean, you just never know.
Right.
Like my dad always used to say, like, oh, we just educated that buck, like you messed up or something. Like, dude, I don't put it past. Like, I've hunted whitetails before, you know, where on the prairie where, like, literally we'll drive to our spot, and a whitetail will be off the road like 3/4 of a mile, half mile, and they'll see the vehicle go by and take off on a dead sprint and like literally not stop for a couple miles. I've seen it. It's like, oh, he's in like a nice buck. And we've seen, like, we hunted that same area for a couple years when I was younger, like my first couple years hunting. We saw that buck every year for like 2 or 3 years, and he would do that same thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, he learned something. Like I don't know. Convinced he remembered that hey, this time of year, vehicles drive by, it's not good for him.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, or he's seen, I don't know. It just makes me wonder, like, hey, he knows he wants to be out by himself.
Yeah.
He knows something's wrong, something's different.
Yes.
Whatever it is. So, but I do want to key on this little aspect, though, when you talk about, like, you're moving with purpose. Like, that hit me because it really made me just think back to my last year when I shot my mule deer. I was kind of cutting in this little area, and I definitely was moving with purpose because I knew there was 3 or 4 other bucks in that same little area where he bedded, but I knew where 2 of them were, but I knew there was another one somewhere in this little cutty area. And so I was really moving in, like, taking a step or two and, like, glassing.
Yes.
Step or two glassing, because I'm like, I couldn't bust this one if I wanted to shoot this one over here.
Yep.
And then with that, I actually was ranging consistently because I knew there was a potential that I'd get around one of these little edges and I wouldn't have time to range them because I knew we'd see each other about the same time. And so, like, I was ranging, like, little areas, like, every other step or a few steps where I'd be like, okay, range, that's, okay, 28 yards. If I come around this corner, you know, make a triangle, sweet, it's going to be roughly a 30-yard shot. So, like, I was ranging consistently. So, I, like what you said, moving with purpose. Every time I was getting in different areas, taking a few ranges in case a deer pops up, and I wouldn't have to range the deer, and I had an arrow already knocked.
Yep.
I could draw back and make a good shot. And so that's something I've learned on missing a deer by not being able to range because I came around a corner,
right,
and missed shot. You know, thought he was at 50 and he was at 38 or whatever it is, and you shoot over their back.
Yeah.
And so now, like, when I'm sneaking in, I actually, like, that helps me slow down. Like, ranging continually is like just a step I found that, it actually is an applicable step to slow me down naturally without having to continually remind myself, slow down.
Right.
So something I think people could really utilize. Try that out.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Anything to slow that last little bit down and just get yourself under control and give yourself more confidence.
Yeah, just micro speed. Yeah, and like you said, you're taking out a variable of not ranging. And at least by pre-ranging, you're going to be a lot closer. Like, you're not going to misjudge by 15 yards and jack it up. Like, at least if it's 3 or 4 yards, high-speed bow, you're going to kill that deer.
Yeah, you're going to be in with your X-ring there still.
Yep. Yep.
What about once you've been seen? Like, if you're, say you're a couple 100 yards out and you're kind of pinned down, like they pegged you, but they don't really know you're there.
Yep.
Or they're getting kind of antsy.
Okay, applicable story again. So the nice mule that I shot with my bow a couple seasons ago. So I missed him the season before that, and I missed him the season before that. So the very first time I ever actually stalked on this deer, I saw him the day before, couldn't get in on him. Next day I found him again. I stalked in there in, like, one single strip of tree, like, cut bank of some trees. So I snuck in. There was, like, another cut bank 100 yards prior to that. And by the time I got around this corner, they had moved over to that other cut bank. Didn't know it. I came around that corner, they, like, 40 yards, busted me, ran 150 yards or 100 yards to that next cut bank in the trees, and they just stopped. Like, and so I just, like, went down to my knees after they saw me, and I was like, I don't know why, I just wanted to watch them through the binos. Well, and they just hung up in those trees. And I'm like, there's no way they're going to bed in there.
Right.
Well, sure enough, I didn't spook them enough by coming around that corner or pressuring them, where they ran 200 yards, sat up in the trees. They thought they were, like, hidden. I watched them. I literally sat there on my knees for an hour and a half and then watched them bed down. And I was like, no freaking way.
Right.
And so, like, I was patient. Again, we apply patience. So after I've been seen, sit back, don't move, just get low, don't make a bunch of movement.
Right.
Hang out, because you might get lucky where they're not going to bust out totally hard.
Right.
And I was able to sneak back in, get within 63 yards of that buck, and that was when I took all the time in the world and got a shot and just nicked a tiny little tree branch and missed that deer. Like, it was the first time I missed him, and but I got a shot at him after a blown stalk by because I just sat back and waited and hung out. Like, I call it, me and Matt joke around that we optifaded away because we were Sitka, so it's like we optifaded away, but we just didn't move, so I think that's a key variable. The other key variable, I think, like something that Justin down in New Mexico taught me archery elk hunting, is like we hike a lot and we move a lot and we cover a lot of ground, but when we get in areas where there's an animal, and I'm saying elk in this case, but I think it applies to anything, is when we start getting in there, we're like our movement just slows down.
Right.
And because that animal might catch you, but they can't see you. See what I'm saying? Like, they catch movement, but if that movement's so slow where you guys catch each other at the same time and you can just hang up, like, then your camo comes into play, your pattern, whether you got the sun at your back, whatever it is, like,
if you got something between you,
you're broke up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so, like, by slowing that movement down, they're catching a slight movement, but then you fade away again. And so that's where, like, Justin always jokes around, like, yeah, we move fast, but we move slow.
Yeah.
Like, you get in those areas and everything just slows down. Like, I don't know, do you have any experience with when, like, an animal sees you at 400 and then you still get an opportunity?
Absolutely. This last year, archery hunting, I was actually on a high point, glassing a smaller buck and a doe, and I look over and 300 to 500 yards in this one area. I couldn't get a good range on him. He was standing there looking right at me.
Oh, sure. He had you pegged on the high spot.
I'm like, oh, dang it. So I literally just held still. He kind of went back to feeding. I backed down off of that. He went down into this little area, and I said, I can get into there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stocked up, and I was actually in some really rough country, and maybe wasn't the smartest about how I got there, because I was trying to just get to a spot versus getting to another suitable spot. I wanted to get to the specific tree, because then I could dump my pack, I could regroup, and I thought, he's probably about 300 yards once I get to that tree. And I ended up coming up the hill, and it was a tough climb, and I'm winded, so I got hands on my knees, breathing heavy. And all of a sudden I look up through this tree that I wanted to get to, and he's at 80 yards staring at me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy, all the wind out of my sails, everything. And he stood up, and I kind of just slowly crouched down behind that tree, and I could hear him bounding off.
Yep.
And I just took out the binos, and he actually went about 200 to 300 yards right into this little cut.
Yep.
And I'm like, no way. And all of a sudden this doe came out of there. I'm like, he just went in there and kicked her out of her bed and took her bed.
Yep.
Like a little bully.
Yeah.
so I ended up getting in within shooting distance of him, and there was another little buck that blew him out of there before I could even draw on him, which was kind of frustrating. But, I just kind of sat back, and same thing you said, just tuck behind some cover, don't move, and he didn't know what I was.
Right.
He just knew something was there.
They just catch a little movement, it makes them nervous, and they go.
Yes. Yep.
But that goes to show you, like, apply patience.
Right.
Yep. Apply patience, apply patience.
What's your ideal stalking position? Do you like to be, some guys like to be below the animal and come up and sneak up. Mm-hmm. Some guys like to be above them and
I love to be above, dude.
Or on the side.
Yeah, like I've had success above and coming around corners. Mm-hmm. Like I really like, depending on how they're bedded, I really like coming around corners, and I really like. I don't hear guys talk about this much. I utilize the sun a ton.
Sure.
Like I love it when I can sneak in around an area or a corner and have the sun at my back, and especially if I'm eye level with that animal and the sun's like low in the sky or just coming up a little bit, so if that animal is looking at me, they have the sun right in their eyes. Like, you know what it looks like to look in the sun. Like, driving down the road, like, you can't see crap. It's difficult. Like, it breaks things up. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I've just tested it out and applied it over the years. And, dude, it just gives me a couple extra seconds. It gives you that advantage. So if I can use the sun at my back or that animal, like, certain times of the day, if I come around a corner and they see me, I don't see them right away coming around a corner, likely that sun's kind of blinding them up a little bit where they're not catching me as much either.
Right.
So it's worked. It worked for me last year on that mule deer, so that's how I...
On the flip side of using the sun, the other thing that people forget about is you're coming in on that animal and you got the sun at your back. Mm-hmm. You have a shadow.
Yes.
And they will catch that shadow.
It's movement.
Yep. And if that sun's setting in the west or it's coming up in the east and you got a long shadow casting out there, they're going to catch that movement, whether it's 60 yards away, moving in on them.
Yep.
So that's one of the other things that you just got to be cognizant of.
And I think the reason why I'm aware of that so well is because we've been filming so long.
Right.
And so when you're filming, you don't want your shadow in the shot. And so, like, me and Matthew are very aware of that, like, when you're hunting. But, yeah, if you weren't aware of, or thought of that, it would be just another variable then.
Yeah.
And it's worked really well for me on sunrises.
Yes.
I haven't used it a ton on sunset, but sunrises are so intense in some of these prairie areas that it's worked okay. I'm impressed with it. But yeah, great point on just be aware of where your shadow's being casted.
Yeah, I've listened to a lot of podcasts myself, and a lot of the guys like to come in, that are hunting more elevated, like to come from below and come up on them because of the thermals.
Sure.
Here in South Dakota, we don't typically have
They're
thermals.
there, but not as drastic.
And we've usually got wind that pushes it.
Right.
Now, when you're glassing, you kind of want to use that wind. You want to use the sun, so you're usually looking into it because they're out of the sun into the wind.
Yep.
So that creates a little bit of an issue of trying to use that once you get in on a stock.
Right.
So I've looked at different ways, because typically they're going to face into the wind.
Right.
So they can
they're seeing here, they're smelling from the other direction, right?
Yep. And there's, if they're looking in the other way and the wind's coming around, you're going to get picked off one way or the other.
Right.
So coming from the side isn't a bad idea. Like you said, coming around something or side hilling across at their level is really, really a good way to do it. If you can't get in on that top, or if you can't get in on the bottom. One of the things that I really, really try and do is stay out of their sight line. If I can see that critter's eyes, they can see me.
Yep, there's a chance they're going to catch movement.
Yep.
Exactly.
If I can't see their eyes, they can't see me.
Yep.
It's common sense. But at the same time, if you can just see antler tips, or if you can just see a back and no head or anything, you're pretty good for moving.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point.
But
it's a simple thing to look for.
Yeah, so if you're going to be below them and they can look right down on you, they're obviously not going to stick around.
Right. That's why I just love coming around corners or coming up over tops. And especially since, we talk a lot about mule deer spot and stock hunting. Like, mule deer bed up on little side ridges. They bed up on little cut banks where they can escape over the top fast, but they're out of the wind, but they have the advantage of still smelling what's behind them, but they're out of it.
Yes.
And they're in the shade when you're talking early season stuff. So, when you're looking in those areas, it gives you, if you come around just a slight angle to the side, it gives you a really good advantage to maybe kill that deer.
Yeah, and you got a good shot angle too.
100%. Yeah. So
most generally. What about when you go to draw? Do you draw? So there's a couple of schools of thought. Do you draw first and then walk around, or do you walk around and see and then draw?
It might be just dependent on the situation, but like if you've spent all the time, that animal's there, like, and like he's 20 yards down below you, like I would pre-draw definitely, and then just go over and shoot. Like when I was on the big mule deer that I shot on the third year, like he was below me 48, and once he stood, I crouched and I started that draw low just so there wasn't movement up above, because I was high, and so I drew down low and then just came right up and settled my pin. So technically that'd be considered a pre-draw, So I always think if you can, it saves you a second and a half or 2 seconds.
Right.
It gives you that little extra time if that deer happens to catch extra movement. It's always nice to think that a deer will just stand there and look and be like, what the heck is that? Because they do that once in a while. But sometimes you get an older buck, dude, and they just they don't even stand to look. They bust out 150 yards, then they turn and be like, okay, what was back there?
Right.
But once in a while, they won't even give you that 2-second shot opportunity, and I've had that happen a time or two, and I'm like, what the heck? You didn't stand there for 2 seconds.
Yeah, especially if there's another deer with them.
Yeah, they just get the heck out of dodge, dude.
Once one gets agitated and starts getting spooky, they won't stick around. I agree.
Yeah, the pre-draw is the best, I think.
Yep.
Situational.
The only time that I wouldn't is if you literally didn't have a shot and you're waiting for them to move.
Yeah.
Then you're stuck holding your...
Yeah, just hunker down.
Yeah, you're stuck holding your draw for who knows how long, and then you're going to get shaky and you're possibly going to let down when they step out.
Yeah, agreed.
Do you use any like decoy at all specifically for deer hunting?
Dude, I really haven't for deer hunting, even though I've always been curious to maybe try like, one of the Montana or heads up decoys just to throw on the bow, like if I was by myself I don't know, I've been curious to try it just to see if it works. So I don't have too much comment on it. I don't want to, because I just don't have experience with it. But have you tried it?
Yes. I have the Stalker decoy.
Oh, really? Is that the one that attaches to the bow?
Yep.
Does it attach well? Does it blow around in the wind? We get so much wind out here.
It's kind of a pain in the wind. It's Velcro.
So it catches a little bit?
Yeah, okay. It catches a little bit of wind. Once it gets on there, once you have it on there, it's solid. But that's this last one that I just talked about previously, where I came up and he ran 200 yards into that cut. Mm-hmm. I actually put that on because the sun was behind me and it was going to cast a shadow.
Okay, sure.
Thinking that if I got over, it would be a deer head.
Yeah, fair enough thought.
Maybe
who knows?
Maybe he would go out of there.
Who knows?
But at the
don't know.
At the same time, I wasn't drawn because I was kind of inching up to get a little bit closer before I drew.
Okay.
When that other one busted out,
Gotcha.
And then I actually went to draw, and I had a hard time finding the deer.
Is that the one with the kind of the oval opening?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So once I found the deer and got drawn, he was.
Gotcha. So
clicking away at about 80 yards.
It slowed down your field of vision a little bit.
Yep. I think the situation I want to try it in is where something's coming at me.
Okay.
When they see me, and then have that kind of up,
Gotcha.
So that it's doesn't look like a guy trying to hide with camouflage. It looks possibly like a mule deer doe.
Dude, I can see it working.
Yeah. Or if they're coming around a corner and they don't see you yet, versus standing out and just standing there drawn, you're gonna be like, oh, well, what's that?
Yeah.
If there's a doe there, they're gonna probably stop as well, but they're not gonna spook right away. Right. So I have one. It's one of those things that I haven't had it long. I just got it last year, so I haven't had it long enough to have many stocks with it.
I've done a lot of antelope stuff with them, but
very, very popular.
That's obviously the way to do it if you're not going to sit in a blind. So
cow decoy, anything.
Yep, done both. Yeah. But I've never used it for deer hunting. I'd be curious to. I mean, I've set up like whitetail set up like October, November. I've done that.
Nothing better than a big rutted up whitetail buck coming in to fight your decoy. And I've got a nice big hole from an antler in mine. Broke off one of the little stake parts where it goes in the ground.
Get a little feisty.
Oh yeah,
cool.
Those little guys, they really like to fight those plastic deer because they can kick their butt.
Yeah, it's the only thing only fight they're gonna win all fall probably. Right. That's hilarious.
One more thing.
Okay.
What about, do you prefer to hunt alone or in pairs?
Dude, I like I love hunting with my brother. Even when he's just filming, I love just having a guy. Right. And I really enjoy hunting with Matt. I've enjoyed meeting hunts out. And I've enjoyed hunting in a group of 2 or 3 when I've gone to New Mexico and hunted Barbary sheep or whatever it is. But for deer hunting, dude, I don't know. I wouldn't want more than one other guy with a tag.
Right.
And I think that can be challenging enough in certain areas when you're both hunting with Matt is obviously super ideal because we both glass and we're patient. We both glass very well. So it's an advantage to find a deer, but we both have very high standard in deer. So that we know when we both hold the same tag and the same unit, the odds of you both killing, in my opinion, are much less because we both want to shoot a nice deer, and the chance of us finding 2 nice deer we both want to shoot isn't great. So I mean, in that case, I love hunting when I'm the only tag holder, obviously, or my buddy is the only tag holder, whatever it is. But I always love having a guy, whether he's the guy with the tag or my brother's just the guy with the camera. I don't know. I feel like you just get a good relationship building, good fellowship, good conversation back and forth. Even if it's just a little talking, there's just a level of camaraderie that I really love. And for me, I only hunt with close friends anyway. Right. I don't go out and just hunt with random guys. I don't enjoy that. I don't know how they handle the weapon. Mm-hmm. And so literally I've only hunted with a handful of guys over the course of my life.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've only hunted with just Matt. I've only hunted with just you or Matthew, or Justin down in New Mexico, whatever it is. But I've done a lot of my hunts with another guy. Mm-hmm. I've had a couple times where I've gone on my own. I've killed some deer when I was 100% on my own, and it's fun. But I love sharing it with a guy. I just love that sharing it and BSing and having fun and going grabbing a steak and eggs, or the biscuits and gravy coming back into town, or I don't know. It's just like
having somebody to high five.
Yep, grabbing a Monster and drinking it. You know what I mean? Like early morning, grabbing coffees or a Monster. Like it's just that's fun, dude.
Yes,
like, it's fun. I don't know what else the way to put it.
Yeah, I enjoy hunting with other people. I've specifically archery hunting.
Yeah.
There's a couple of guys who I archery hunt with too.
Yeah.
As well, as you and I, but we typically don't hunt together, like side by side.
Sure.
I just feel like that really lowers your odds.
Yep.
And same thing. We're both after a mature deer, so there's not going to be that many mature deer hiding together or running together. So I like to hunt with that other person, but another guy that I hunt with, we hunt about a mile or two apart, so that if one or the other finds something and we're going to go on that stalk, we can kind of meet up.
Sure. Or I can get behind the glass and help, or whatever it is.
And the other thing too is having that guy there to give you some hand signals, or if you're in a state where you can use walkie-talkies, and there can be a guy in your ear telling you to hold still.
Sure.
He's looking or he's not looking, or you're within X amount of yards.
Sure.
That's a really good advantage. But even just hand signals, telling somebody to stop, or giving them you should go left or you need to go right.
Yep.
That's just one extra advantage I think that you have over that critter. But the other thing that's probably the most important is you have somebody to help you pack it out. That is thing number one.
It is nice, dude.
When you start boning that deer out, and when you pack deer out, or elk, or whatever, and you can split that weight up a little bit, it's 100% helpful.
Yeah, and I've hauled a whole deer out in my pack, but I tell you what, it's a lot more fun when Matthew's filming with me, and I can at least put one of my bags of meat in his pack, and it saves me 25 pounds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's just nice.
That year I got that one with that rifle, and you guys were thankfully, nice enough to come back and help me out. I mean, I was literally 3 miles out there, and I had a whole deer, and
I packed my deer out that morning too, and then I went out and I was dehydrated and helped you pack yours out, and I pulled my hamstring and it hurt for like 2 months. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Anytime.
But it was like, but the thing is like, you were by yourself and you had fun, but then you had two buddies come out, and it got, like, we built memories on that, and that was really fun too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know, someone you can share that memory with and be like, yeah, dude, we were all the way back up in that point. I remember. I know exactly where you shot the deer. That was awesome. You were in a really cool spot.
Some good area to get back in and hunt.
We hiked out in a different area to kind of explore it.
That was cool. Yeah. The other thing too is it's really important to me to get good pictures.
My favorite thing to do.
One of the things that I really get disappointed in guys when they shoot these, and girls, when they shoot these trophy animals and they just have a picture of it laying on the ground, or you've got,
even if it's not a monster deer, you know what I mean? Like, you just see like dad standing all the way back up over top of like bad angled photo, or like
back of the truck, tongue hanging out.
Yeah, like
riding it like a bull.
That's a whole nother, we could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah.
But I agree, like taking a nice photo for a memory. Like it just barrels down to a memory of like, hey, getting level with to the ground. Just a couple simple little things to take a really nice photo for a memory that can be displayed. In
getting the the antlers up above some brush, or up above even. People will give me crap because I like the skyline, which makes the animal look bigger, but it's not about my face in there. It's about that animal, and really
you're just representing,
getting a good representation of that animal.
And a clear shot of what it looked like, and that's the whole point, is to show that and respect that animal off, and what it is and what it was, and have a clear picture, not half its horns in the brush where you can't even see what the heck it is, and tongue hanging out. Like, I always said we could do a whole podcast, we could rant on that, but like, I don't know, it's just a representation. And take some time to take some nice photos, because it does barrel down to having some great photos for great memories.
Like, and you're going to show that photo the rest
forever,
of your life.
Forever. And so the nicer that photo is, it's going to be that much more fun to show it off, that memory, and looking back and really seeing what it was.
Yeah, and I did the one that you helped me pack out. I did my photos by myself.
Yeah.
I bet I took like the 10-second photo. You know, like the delay.
It's very long.
Not enough when you have to run back and jump behind a deer and pick their head up.
Oh, yeah.
I wiped out so many times. If I had had funniest tone, like if somebody had been like a half mile away videotaping me, I would have looked like the goofiest guy out there.
What is this dude doing right now?
I wiped out, fell down the hill, tripped over the deer. I mean, you name it, I did it. But I got a good picture in the end.
That is really funny. That's awesome.
No, having somebody else there just to share that hunt with. And, you know, another thing too is, if you're like, when we're a mile, maybe 2 miles apart, you're definitely getting some good intel on a whole area.
Yeah, it's true.
Versus having
What'd you see?
Yeah. Hey, did you see anything? Is it worth going back over there?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see anything between us? Yep. Or should we just go try another area?
Yeah. And you know what? Deer pop out and disappear really fast. So an extra set of eyes glassing is always a good thing.
Yes.
Always a good thing. Dude. We rocked through another podcast. Yep. Number 75. That's a good one, dude. Thanks for bringing that stuff over. Dustin's always making notes and bringing new stuff to the table because my mind's always on, like, random other thoughts. So this is good. I really appreciate him being the co-host of this show. It's been really helpful. You and Devin have really brought a lot to the table. We appreciate it, and the listeners are appreciating some of the hunting content that you guys have been helping put out. So we always appreciate you guys' listen, as always. If you can share it with another friend or somebody that you think would enjoy it, do it.
Do it.
It helps. It definitely helps us. So
give us a share, give us a mention on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. Share us on Facebook, whatever it is. Or if you're listening on your preferred podcast platform, leave us a review and a rating. Those things always help boost us up the list as well to be maybe stumbled upon by somebody else.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions or any comments, or if we said something that wasn't right, shoot us a, hey.
Yeah, let's argue.
Nah, I don't argue.
I'm just kidding. Devin's my arguer.
Yeah.
He's my arguer. I love it.
So, if any questions or any comments or anything you want us to look into or talk about or ask us our opinion on it, we'd be happy to talk about it.
Yeah, a lot of our stuff that we talk about is definitely opinion on our experience. So your experience might totally be different, and you might have a different opinion. That's cool, too. Yep. That's the awesome thing about hunting is that there's different scenarios and different areas and different outcomes.
And everybody's style is different,
Everybody's style is different. This is just one style we know and are okay at, and so we talk about it. So thanks for tuning in today, guys, and I hope you enjoyed another episode of the Live Beyond Average podcast.